we're not as good as 55% of people apparently. But we are better at other things, which is called energy and vibes.
The vibes were high.
It is a challenging puzzle, though. There is no way around that. It's not a simple puzzle.
I was so glad I was watching everybody do that, because if I actually had to do that, that's just my worst nightmare ever.
I know. You're like, everybody leave. I'm going to work on this alone for a while.
Get the fuck out of here, dude. What am I doing
here? I need to
here?
think. This is not my vibe.
I don't want to do ridiculous things.
I don't think you're alone in that one completely. There's a couple people who had that vibe a little bit, but not like exactly.
Oh, there's a good handful of people who were over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens. It's frustration. Everybody's not, in the same vibe of they're like, and we have to do this for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Forget about it.
Yeah. It's just an observational opportunity. We got to see some things. We got to watch the dynamics. It's good. We have a great team of people who like each other. That's a great start.
We do have a great team of people who like each other and respect each other.
Yeah. So everybody, welcome to the podcast. You've heard us riffing and ranting about a game that we played, a puzzle that we tried to put together. Charles, Chris, and myself actually didn't get to. We just had to observe our team doing it for a offsite that we did with Barry from Predictive Index. And Predictive Index is it's not a firefighter. It's a training and development tool that we have decided to bring on that can support, I think, your and everybody's company in a bunch of different ways, providing if you decide how you would like to use it. It's a science-based leadership and training tool that essentially has got like 70 plus years of psychoanalysis, therapy, psychiatrist-based learning about individuals and their kind of core selves versus their essentially best use of their skill set in a workplace. And that sounds like it's extremely simple. Well, I don't think it is, right? There's an idea about who we are as individuals, and then the idea around emotional intelligence and being able to adapt. So the key thing that everybody needs to take away is that with this tool set that we'll dive into, one of the big takeaways is anybody can do any job, but who is going to be spending the most amount of calories and energies doing that job, and who may or may not love that job. And that's maybe, like, if you could simplify a big reason that we're using it, that's one. And the other one is the ability to look at relationship dynamics in the leadership group and how to best approach working with people of different styles of mindset and approach. And I think that's like a big sum up of why I wanted to bring it to the table.
Yeah, the thing that it really measures is innate drive.
Yeah.
So it doesn't measure skill. It doesn't measure, competency necessarily. It's not really a personality profiler. It's about what drives you.
Yeah.
What a way of being.
Yeah, for sure.
A way of working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was it was a really interesting day.
Yeah.
Super funny. I love this spread of people in there.
Mm-hmm.
I love that we had at least one dissenter in Johnson. That made me feel really good about the whole thing.
Yeah. You like a dissenter. You need a dissenter. Yeah.
I mean, because I'm like probably closer to Johnson than I was letting on. Like I think it can be useful, but I also feel like one of the interesting things about people who do a certain thing, like Barry does Predictive Index.
Yeah.
He loves it. And Barry seems like a really great guy.
Yeah.
I feel like people overclock the thing that they're really into and its overall importance. So Barry really wants to be validated in his love for Predictive Index. So I think it was cool to see Johnson, who's just like, well, what about this?
Yeah.
How does this work? How does this work? And just kind of forcing him to answer some more interesting questions.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I love that Johnson was just like this unshakable force.
He was like, it seems too easy.
It was pretty cool. Yeah.
I think well, it's always interesting to me because I'm seeing mindsets there, but I'm like, none of this is actually easy. I think that's kind of the point. Is it's like it's a 70-year-old, like triple, what is it, like many double and triple blind studies to prove that its efficacy makes sense, right?
Right.
So it's like do you believe that the earth is round? There's a lot of science to it, but like a lot of people still fight against it. And I'm like, yeah. So part of me is always like, sure, I hear you. Maybe for you personally, it's not like your mojo, but when we're looking at a company, right, it's good to look at what is helpful for the group, what can be helpful as a tool. And so like, I totally get you. There is oftentimes, especially I would say even like Charles actually stated it pretty well. He's like, look, I work with two people, and even he, I think at the end of the day, had some good like reflection personally of how he and DualSense could maybe work better together. And I don't even think they work negatively together, but I think he genuinely, I could kind of see a little bit of the pages turning with that one for him. At the same time, if you only work with like one or two people, most of the time, unless it's not going well, you might not need something like this. But for maybe like looking at our entire team and like executive groups and how we might all come together, there was something that it does, which is it puts all the different kinds of personality drives in categories and says, hey, by default, most likely these kind of people are going to be driven towards this kind of work. So if there's something you're looking to do that doesn't fall into this, again, somebody's going to have to do it. Who's spending shit tons of calories, and what kind of people might be spending more calories and doing maybe like the amount of work that could take somebody else, like call it an hour, and taking him 20 hours to get it done. And that's a hope that I think could come out of it.
Yeah, it was really, the quirk with that, or I think the way it could work best for a company that's our size is, or most small companies, career path at any given small company generally looks like this. You show up, you do a good job, you get promoted to the next available higher job. Whether or not that job has anything to do with what you want to do or what you're excited about, you take the job anyway, because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, it's your best bet.
There's only one or two jobs available at any given time. And that holds true here too. If you want to move from the front line up into leadership, or from a coordinator level up to team leader, or whatever, there's a finite number of jobs available, and everybody's good at something. Yeah. But the best barista might not be the best manager. Yeah. And the best manager might not be the best salesperson. The best, salesperson might not be the best marketer or CEO or whatever you want to call it. So it's kind of being able to screen for those things and just have the conversation. Is this going to work for this person? And make some sort of educated bets. Yeah. Which is interesting, which would be a shift for us, like a really big shift for us.
Yeah, I think so. Let's walk into, if you're wondering, like predictive index, you're hearing drives. Okay, so if you looked at how they were to measure drives on predictive index, what this means is they kind of categorize in the context of a bell curve 4 different core drives. And again, when I say in the context of a bell curve, that means there's extremes, and there's all the numbers of the hundreds of thousands of millions of people who have taken this in between. So there is the sociability drive, which would be, are you a little more reserved, or are you a little more outgoing? And that would have to do with literally like infinite amounts of the, what do they call them? What's the words? The sigmas.
Separation.
Sigma separation. And this is just like scientific measurements, but there's, there's dead center, which means kind of balanced and situational, which means like, sometimes I feel like you've heard maybe the term ambivert, right? There's introvert, extrovert, ambivert. Ambivert would mean like, situationally, I am able to dive into all sorts of social activities and be fine. And situationally, I want to work. I want to have less of that. Then there's literally like what does it call it? Proactive versus reactive, aka collaborative, right? I do believe.
Yeah, there's the spectrums. I can't remember the actual words for each one, but I'm looking at a profile right here. So these are on a spectrum. So there's first bar is collaborative versus independent. Do you prefer to collaborate with others, or do you prefer to work alone? Then there's the sociability one, which Jared was talking about. Are you more on the reserve side of things, or are you more on the social side of things? Number 3, you've got driving versus steady.
Yes, and that's where more so are you going to be, that's the more the proactive versus collaborative one. That's where I'm going there. Are you somebody who's going to keep pushing forward, and are you going to be more systems oriented, right? Is that the one, driving versus steady?
Driving versus steady.
Here I go.
Not sure.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Driving means you're going to have a little less patience. You're going to be pushing.
Yes. Okay. Here we go.
You're going to be wanting to push towards the names
of the buckets.
Right.
So the first one, which was the collaborative versus independent, that's the dominance.
Yep.
That's the dominance bucket. The second bucket, where we were talking about
social versus reserved.
Yep. That is, oh my God, it went away. My computer. That's extroversion.
Yep.
You're measuring extroversion. The third one, patience.
Yep.
Driving versus steady. Are you patient or not?
And then flexible versus precise would be kind of like
formality,
systems thinking, and formality.
Yeah.
It's just like how, do you need all the information, or can you just adapt formal? Yeah, being formal or not.
Or you're like, cool, it's fine.
So an example used for me, because I'm very, very flexible, is I basically can talk to you like I know you, and I can move from thing to thing fairly easily, and it doesn't really bother me. Whereas some people who are more precise, if you're in one zone and you try to switch to another one, it might, take them a little bit longer to do so. They might not like that feeling as much, and that's totally fine. Everybody's got a different mix. What's key to some of this stuff, again, bell curve, millions of different combinations. There's no good or bad at all. That's super, super important. Anybody can do any job. And again, we're looking for context of who's going to be enjoying said job the most while spending, in some regards, like the least amount of energy. And that's not to say that they're not going to spend energy, because every job is challenging. But like I said, if I had to sit still at a desk all day and be required to be productive based on some measurement there, I would suck at it. And
you might not suck at it, but it would be frustrating for you.
I would be. And then there's the other sides, right? And there's the other sides. Is anybody can do anything at a high level for 2 to 3 months, pending many different things. And then at some point the realities will kick in. So yes, I would probably end up getting frustrated and either hate my job, and then things come out of that, whether you do poor or your mental health suffers in secret, whatever the case may be. Like, things will happen there. So there's no silver bullet, and this is not a simple fix. And you're right. Like, the adjustment to how we might look at hiring, this is something you can do as well, is you can set not requirements. You can set job expectations, and it'll kick out a generalized job description. Again, this is not to be confused with the job description that perfectly describes your values and your company, but it might look something like, I could say something like, I'll pull up what it would say about me. If there was a job that was perfect for Jer, this is what it would look like. And I could actually agree to this. So this position involves making rapid decisions, often based on little information. The ideal candidate must provide ideas with confidence and be comfortable navigating quickly changing conditions. Challenge and pressure are okay for them. There is a good degree of difference from one day to the next, with shifting priorities and new problems to solve daily. Problems may be situational, factual, or people-based, and solving them involves analysis, creativity, and the ability to work with others. There's like three more paragraphs and a half on this, but I'll skip towards the end just to give you this job focuses on achieving goals. The end result is more important than the details of how the work gets done. Someone in this role must delegate details to others, following up to ensure that results are timely. This person would be best with more freedom and a heavy focus on independence, and expect to have agency when setting priorities and objectives. So, and there's more to it than that. I don't want to bore you, but that's me. It does fit in with the kind of, when I'm doing my best kind of work, that is the kind of work. And there's more, again, that would fit the bill there. And again, that, to be fair, like Chris said, in a lot of businesses, regardless of who I am, that doesn't always fit the perfect job. So in fact, if we look back and we go to how job fits are versus my personality, I'm actually not an amazing job fit for a lot of the jobs in this company, even though in the past I've had to do a lot of the jobs in my career and have been successful. Some of which, though, I was living through a lot of stress because and many different reasons. So where I would say something is interesting here that I found awesome about this is if somebody was living in a job if say I was living in the wrong job, there is that core sense of who you are that doesn't change. Then there's this thing called the self concept, which is like, who do I have to be successful in this job? And it'll kick out the same exact bell curve, but your positions on those 4 categories may sit differently. And if they sit too far away from where you are, what it means is you are spending those extra calories, and how you personally feel about that is going to be different. Like I'm going to feel differently than maybe Chris, than whoever, based on what way we're stretching, but it will manifest in a challenge. And that part is something that you take every so often. And it allows, say I had a good leader. If I had a good leader who was like, we could look in and be like, oh, my self-concept says I have to be completely different than my true self here. Then the opportunity there is to try to check in and say, hey, like, what could be happening in this job that is making you feel that way? That is either a system that's not working, that is communication related. The list kind of goes on, but it will prompt you to be like, here's the kind of person this is. Here's what their self-concept is versus the job. Something is happening. Here's a good way to talk to a person like this. Here's a bad way to talk to a person like this. Take a look and like spend some time with them and figure it out, right? And a good leader, it's a good opportunity for a lot of people who don't have, I should say, in young businesses, a lot of training to take a look and at least get rid of some of the guesswork. You're not supposed to be a computer and copy it and go in there and read like, tell me about the problem. It's like, look at this and say, hey, this person does not like they do not like to be maybe asked directly, or they don't like to, there's ways to speak about communication.
Which that doesn't have anything to do with self-concept. That has to do with the original personality profile.
Right. And the ability to communicate.
Bring it back.
Sorry, good point.
In like a whole, like broad speaking, if your self-concept can change over time, like you said, you measure it multiple times, and ideally you find some sort of alignment between it and the,
at least close,
and your innate drives. And that's where they're saying you're going to have the best time. And then the thing that you're talking about in terms of coaching, it's just like for every profile generated, there are tips on how to communicate with X person. Just like these broad things. Like the one that stuck out to me, this is the most easily identifiable. It's like with Charles. It's like, he's not going to give you an answer right now.
That's super important.
No matter what you do. No matter how many, like you can bring up an idea for him, like, I think we should do this, and because this, and they'll have 1,000 reasons, and no matter what you say, he's still probably going to say some version of, let me think about it.
Mm-hmm. And even if he gives you an answer, he might change it because that's in the built-in nature. It'd be like, well, I haven't thought about, so I'm going to give you an answer.
Like, well, this,
but I need to think about it.
Or this seems to be right. And then 3 days later, it's like, you know what? I was thinking about it.
Right.
And blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. That's super key. I thought that was interesting, as well as, him being really vulnerable and saying, hey, 2 of his drives put him in a place where, so the precision drive, right? Steady versus whatever it was, flexible, right? That precision drive means that somebody does not want to make a mistake. So they have a really hard time with risk, and that's totally cool. To have somebody who's both risk averse, afraid of risk, maybe not naturally inclined towards risk, and to also be somebody who is driven towards success, which is the second one, driven versus, maybe it's not driven versus flexible, but the second drive.
Second drive is extroversion.
No, okay, sorry. First drive. Driving.
First drive is dominance.
Yeah, so there's the ability, those two being in conflict means that like inside you're like, I want to keep moving forward, I want to keep progressing, and then at the same time you're like, but I don't want to fail. And you could literally live in this paradox all the time in your life, which is like, I want to, but I can't. I want to, but I can't. And it's not literally, but he did mention that concept of feeling that way sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Well, I think it just depends on where you're at. Yeah. So if let's say we're like, okay, cool, we're all in on this, then the best idea is to find a zone where this makes sense, where I can thrive.
Yes.
So it's like Charles had great success in his previous career on Wall Street, where even though it seems like he's doing something fairly risky, he's doing investment analytics, he's portfolio managing, he's trading, he's working for hedge funds, he's got an abundance of data with which to make decisions.
Sure.
And he did really well out of it and built like an awesome career for himself. So even though he ultimately was like could do those things, his drives were aligned in that way. He didn't like the culture of where he was.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because they're like, when he opened this, when Barry opens this discussion, he basically lays out, look, this is one piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
So he had this little map of a human being up on the wall. And it's like, everybody brings these things with them to work. And there's the person's got a little briefcase. He's like, in the briefcase, you got your skills, your knowledge, and your experience. These things change over time. These are something that you bring with you to work, that you put to work to get your job done. Then there's a little heart. He's like, so you've got your heart. It's like, these are your values and your culture. And these things, again, like they can change over time. Like, and then there's like the head up here. It's like the drives and cognitive. This is what Predictive Index is measuring. It's like, what are your innate drives? And the argument is that these things never change, but you still have to have all of them to have success in whatever skill you have. So let's say you're like, just because you're wired to do something doesn't mean you're even good at that thing yet. Yeah. Right? Because like
practice still has to happen.
Right, exactly. So it's like, say you're wired to be like a CEO type person.
Sure.
But like 16-year-old Jared could never have been a CEO type person, right? Because it's like, you just don't have the skill yet. You don't have the
Absolutely.
So there's this framework, this like puzzle that you're kind of piecing together. It's pretty neat in its own special way. The things that are Oh yeah, and he makes a note. It's like, hey, like let's say you find someone, and I think this is why he says over and over again, this is not a hire and fire tool. It's not a hire and fire tool. Even if you have this alignment, you still have to have all the cultural things.
Right.
I wrote this down. He says verbatim. It's like, you still have to like them.
Yeah.
You still have to have chemistry with them. They still have to be in the right geography.
Yep.
The money for the job still has to work for what they need in their lifestyle. There's all these things. So you might have like a really perfect fit in this sense, but it still might be someone who's like, I have to pass on because all these other things don't line up.
Yeah, no, totally. I think that's ultimately like my hope as we practice this, is that we just consistently get better at, because here's the other thing is like we oftentimes find many different people that we enjoy. And
liking someone and wanting to work with someone is not
it's not always the best reason.
Like
no, it's not a one-to-one. And he mentioned that, right?
He's like, job.
And he also walked us through some great exercises that essentially scientifically put us like 95% of human beings are acting on bias most of the time in some regard. And he mentions all the different kinds of bias. So,
which I think everybody knows.
Everybody kind of knows, but I think to put that practice to a number and say, hey, this is the reality. And we actually, I think a lot of the time do a pretty good job. I mean, I think we have a track record that proves we don't completely go with bias for sure.
Well, the thing about bias is you're not like engaging with them actively. So even if we were, we would say that we weren't.
Yeah, well, and so that's a little bit part of it. Like, right. So I'd say based on like, I would say the quality of output in our company, we haven't completely acted with bias is where I'm kind of going, like for the very, like, and we have in the past for sure. And we still kind of do in some regard. There's no way around it. And that's kind of his point, is utilizing tools and some of the science to practice getting around that stuff. Because again, you can have really good seasons and then really challenging seasons too. And you can kind of start looking at patterning or the kind of people that you've been bringing into certain jobs. Or even the other side to me is it's like, what if we are working towards building something and you have like 5 candidates and one feels like the best because of whatever relationship, interview, whatever, but all 5 candidates by way of that look great. And then you can look at maybe, Predictive Index, and you can say, okay, well, this person, may or may not have had the best day with us. That takes me a little bit to the get it, want it, and capacity thing that we were talked about in EOS world. But you could have an awesome day and come in and be like, dude, that person killed it there, for sure, the right fit. And then kind of go into Predictive Index and be like, well, they're really good at understanding, performing, and delivering the right answers based on their understanding of our culture, but maybe the job itself is not the right fit for them. And that's my hope as we move forward. Or maybe they're not as good of a bet as this other person who maybe didn't interview quite as well. Maybe for whatever reason they're a little more reserved, or there's a mix there in a matrix. And I think just being able to look at that data and even being able to say like, well, maybe we don't know. Let's go back and have a different conversation or a second, or ask some different questions, which again, it can kick out It can kick out suggestions in an interview as well, based on where people sit on their drives and where you might set a job, and then it's like, if somebody's way off of it, then it's like, tell me about this, that, and the other. And I did genuinely appreciate a lot of the questions that are in there. They're motivational based questions. They're actually fairly, again, nothing perfect. You still have to be engaged as a leader.
What questions? I'm trying to think of.
Well, if you went to, I wish I had brought my computer in here to pull it up, but if you went into like an interview guide, right?
Yeah.
And you took candidates. So in this case, everybody who is getting hired for a job gets sent this, they call it a BA, which is behavioral assessment, but that's essentially it. Measures the drives, kicks them out, right? And if the drives based on the job description don't match up in some way, then they'll kick out questions specifically relating to the discrepancy. And so one of them, and all the questions were just kind of in line with some of the things we've asked in the past when we were just kind of doing our motivational based interviewing, which is how we started this company. It's like, in fact, I saw one almost verbatim similar. It's like, tell me about a time when you followed through with a project or goal and were successful, even though most people either looked at you or suggested that didn't make sense. They weren't approving, they weren't about it. And I saw that as one of the questions. I was like, that's an enlightened question, I think, because it measures some things in somebody. And again, you still have to deduce if the person's going to be cultural fitting, but that's something that I remember asking Sarah Shirley, who was like a really epic team member who worked here for a long time, who worked their way up to be like an executive assistant. And again, same thing, we kind of topped out on jobs, but this person was super ambitious, really great at their job, team player, super socially outgoing, really, really smart. And I remember asking her that. And in the interview, I was like, okay, cool. This person's bubbly and they're fun. I don't know if they're going to like, how driven are they or how like committed are they to a process? Because a lot of this is like, they'd never been in coffee. They knew nothing about coffee. I was like, okay, so the hospitality side seems like it's going to be pretty easy in terms of making people have a good time. They're very cheerleader vibe.
For sure.
And then I was like, but are they going to enjoy going through the process of learning a skill set and like some of that determination and discipline that it requires to get good at latte art or making espresso and like having to focus on something? She's like, in that question, she was like, yeah, I decided I wanted to run marathons and I want to run at a really fast pace. And she walked me through the process of what it looks like to speed train for marathons, not just to be good at them, but to do really fast paces and to potentially win half marathons and joining run clubs and all the dedication to the process, which means 3 to 5+ days a week of this like strict guideline. I'm like, oh, this person is perfect. They want to work here. They're super fun. They're for sure going to get on with everybody. And even if they are not necessarily currently like sold on the obsession of coffee, they're going to understand what it takes to do this stuff. And they understand like what it is like to go through a process that's challenging. And that was just one part of an interview. I didn't hire on that alone, but I remember that being like okay, this is a really positive, attribute to somebody. And that was one way of getting it. So I thought that was cool. And I think, again, it's about trying to find tools and things that could help people who don't have, who haven't maybe had the time and tenure in this industry too, to help get people places faster and support. And I think to me, that's one of the biggest things that is a challenge in a company like ours, in a place where there has been historically like a fair amount of change and turnover due to this place being expensive and et cetera. Really, that's the main thing in Santa Cruz. It's extremely expensive. And then we're a college town, so people will come here and go a lot and transfer, junior college to college, and we get them for 2 years and then they roll, oftentimes at max. And with that comes just a lot of, there's a lot of consistent touch bases. So any tool that can paint a picture that I think that somebody can kind of cognitively grab and be like, oh, okay, great. And if they don't get it perfectly, they can pull up a little bit of a guide and be like, let me look at this and at least get some general direction, is going to, or at least suggestions even, right? General direction meaning here's some suggestions. And it's not just one. It's like 6 to 10 suggestions on how to approach a conversation.
How to deal with Mark.
Yeah, dude. And it's always how to deal with Mark.
The collaborator.
Yeah, let me go into my Inspire section and say, hey, Mark. Or actually say, how do I connect with Mark? Definitely make him make decisions immediately.
Don't even think about talking to him without this map up.
Yeah.
It's not going to go well. There's no way.
Give him a quiet workplace else. That was one that was really funny. So it was like, there was like a generalized call out on like, people like this don't like to work in a loud and distracting environment. And then it's like, who's like that? And Mark raised his hand and it's like, oh yeah, I remember many times him being like, putting in his headphones and like, I can't work here. I have to go. I have to sound cancel. These are fair conversations to have. These are fair things and important things for us to notice. And yeah. Anyway, how could we relationship manage and do our very best to take it to the next? Neat stuff, guys. Neat stuffed. What else could be fun about Predictive Index for people in the world? One, it's not cheap. So you're going to want, if you're going to invest in it, it's like a under 50 is like, and again, this is going to be up to you like $12,000 a year.
12 racks.
Which is not actually insane if the tool is viable.
It's $1,000 a month if it gets you what you need out of it. I think any of these things, you got to really be ready to, and we haven't done this yet, use it.
Yeah.
You know, this is the deepest down a rabbit hole that's similar like this than we've ever been.
Yeah. We're using it in retail, but we need to integrate it across the whole company.
I mean,
yeah.
Are we actively using it?
Mm-hmm. We use it to hire the coordinators that just got hired, as well as we're testing it on some baristas.
So how did that work? Did you have to, because we
built the jobs.
You built the jobs.
Mm-hmm. We built the jobs. Yeah. And we built all the job descriptions for the support educator position, coordinator position, and team leader position. We went and actually measured it based on the BAs of our current squad as well, just to kind of see where everybody was at and how well we had placed people. And we've started working on coaching and just conversations based on that with our current team. And then with the team that we are hiring for, we use we had the people take the BA, because not everybody in our company's taken it. And all the candidates took it, and then they interviewed based on the BAs for the current coordinator jobs that were just hired and selected based on them as well.
And then I think that's pretty interesting, because if you're using a tool like this, one of the things that you kind of have to be okay with is passing on someone who's doing a great job, who's quote unquote, earning their stripes, but is not suited to do the thing that's on offer, right? And it's like, I think that's where we've been stuck in the past.
Absolutely.
Like, we want to use things like this, but we also want to tell everybody yes.
Yeah, and
right?
sometimes we want to...
You've been here for 3 years. Like, this is for you. You get the next job. And we have to be willing to say, like, hey, this just isn't for you.
Totally.
Here's why. Even though it's part of the judgment, right? Like, he says over and over again, it's not a hire and fire tool. It's not a hire and fire tool.
No. You have to know
if you're going to accept it, you got to put, hopefully put some weight on it to get some sort of value out of it.
Well, and that's where you can also give the feedback on the other side of the job. It's like, hey, you are set up for this person for this reason. Is the reason we chose them, if that's necessary. It's not always necessary, but in our company, we try to do our best debrief and coaching.
So what's the profile of a coordinator?
You want to pull it up? Rephrase that. Profile meaning to you when you say that, like the chosen profile?
Yeah, if you created a job description.
So like,
right?
Yeah. So if I click on a coordinator
what
job,
are the 4 attributes or the 4 innate drives that a good coordinator would have? Yeah.
So again, I'm on my phone. So they need to be slightly on the dominant side, just slightly, right? To be able to lead well. They need to be able to direct people. In the extroversion side, they need to be right in the center to be able to go both, because they need to be able to do work, on their own, but also integrate and work with the folk. Their patience needs to kind of be right in the center as well, because they're going to be working with people that they're developing, as well as needing to have goals set, and their formality needs to be more on the precise side. A little bit more on the precise side. And that's to find the way, again, if you're doing that to kick into the job description, right? So this is part of what you do, is you work through that. Again, everybody, just so you know, when you're setting a job, what you do is you collect the 5 the stakeholders, they call it, the people who understand the job the best. So that would be the team leaders who are leading coordinators, and the people who are closest to the work, which would be, in our case, Herman, and then myself with this situation. We all sat and it's like, okay, I worked in retail, I started the thing. And so everybody sets their benchmarks and takes their tests, and then it kicks out the median and it says, here's where everybody sits. And if everybody is close to a line, then you've got yourself a pretty close target. If a couple people are like way off, then you discuss what people meant by why they chose what. And then you may or may not choose the target.
Like calibrating in a barista competition.
Yes. And so if you did that, to bring the job, right, it'll do what I just did and read for myself. It'll kick out a job like, this person needs to be like this. And then it gives you the descriptors of what those people might be like. And then the three like typical main kind of profiles, because they all have names, that would fit the bill. Now that doesn't mean they're the perfect ones, but those are like the main ones that fit in those places typically. And it'll give like I said, a job description, and then whoever is potentially trying to get hired for the job, it'll set, and again, we're looking at my phone, so it's kind of hard to read, but it'll set like where their personalities fit versus the job. And so to speak without speaking about the people, there are some people who, based on, like, for instance, you can see like where they fit versus the actual job. They're like really, really close, but maybe due to either coaching or culture fit or clarity of who you need to be, they might not be acting in accordance with those needs for the job. So that's where you have to make the decision. Again, it's not a hire and fire tool. This person actually might be the right fit for the job, but do we have, and you get to start to learn this stuff, are we doing a good job with leadership, with clarity, with the right focuses in that context? And I think that's, to me, where with the right minds, that's where this can get really fun and scientific and be really helpful in the long haul. And it's like, yeah, this person, again, based on all the vibes we get on the who it seems like they want to be, even this, they seem like they should be the right fit. Like, what's missing? And we find out through fuck around and find out conversations, coaching, seeing how well the leaders above this person are leading them, expectations, like, is that why this is working or not? Or are you just culturally like not interested in doing this work and that's why it's not working? And then you can start to find a way to replace and or coach, and it's pretty interesting to dive into these things and look at that stuff for sure. I see your wheels turning.
I was just thinking about our EOS guy and the questions that you mentioned that he asked that felt like the most powerful version of all of these things.
Get it, want it, capacity?
Yeah, the other things? Like we're doing this accountability chart where it's basically an org chart for all the things that all the positions we might need to drive the company forward to the goal that we've, been working on, and plugging in names on this chart. And then he's asking 3 questions. Do they get it?
Yeah.
And with the caveat that you can't teach someone to get it. They either get it or they don't.
Yeah.
It's either in them or it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with how hard they're trying. It doesn't have anything to do with what they want to be, how they see themselves. It just has everything to do with, like, do they get it or not?
Totally.
I thought that question that's just such a cool way to frame it. And then want it.
Yeah.
It's like, do they want to do the work on offer?
Yeah.
And I think one of the more powerful things about the exercise, the way that he was doing it, he's not asking the person who's going to be doing the work. He does eventually, but he's asking everyone else in the room. Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
it's based on your experience.
Right.
Do they want this?
Does he want it? Because if you want the job, you could say, like, well, yeah, dude, I want it.
Yeah, totally.
But everyone around you be like, he doesn't fucking want that shit. That's not
it
for him. This is ridiculous. Like, and so of the get it, want it, and the third one, does this person have the capacity? The first 2 are non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Like, none of those 2 things are flexible. If either of those is not true, not going to work out.
Yeah.
And then the capacity is something that can be adjusted or learned or trained.
And it's in flux too.
And
we're all humans.
It changes over time. I forgot about that framing because we did that EOS stuff before.
Yeah.
And once asked those questions, I remembered them, and I was like, oh, these are just great.
Yeah.
These are great questions.
That's where I think that's, to me, a combination of where the want it part specifically is the part where predictive index could be a help. It doesn't mean that it gives us the answer, but want it combined with like that is like, okay, because the get it part, you're totally right. With the caveat, I think of, are we from the beginning painting the picture of what we're trying to, like, you know what I'm saying? If we're not doing a good job in leadership development or development in general of painting the picture of who we are, then it'll be harder for us to accurately answer, do they get it in some regard?
Yeah.
Without the bias, you know what I'm saying? So as long as we know we're doing a good job mostly there, then it's like, I think we can measure, do they get it?
I think you get
a lot easier without bias.
I think that, the way I'd articulate that is that without a strong cultural anchor, everything becomes more fuzzy.
Yeah, mission, values, leadership, and how it looks to live that.
You could be in a company full of high performers without a North Star, and everything's just a little bit trickier because it's like, do they get it? Well, I mean, they get their job. Do they get what we're trying to do?
They're passionate.
I'm
they try
not sure
hard.
They get what they're trying to do, but we haven't really made that clear. So that's not on them. It's on us.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of how my mind thinks of that one. The want it goes down to... That to me is a little bit of a gut check. It's like if somebody's presenting that they want it and their behavioral assessment says, they're pretty close to this, then I could like get behind, I might get behind it more than if it's like somebody wants it and we might not be protective of them. They want it, but like you might want it because you just want to move up in the company. Yeah, you might not want it because of the job.
The want it feels closer to the innate drives predictive index style.
So I think that could help us and help a lot of people hopefully at least get those gut checks and allow us to start to work together to just give some more informed decisions, and then that's beyond all the potential coaching. And then, the capacity thing will potentially fluctuate for others. And that all is just dependent on the job. But I do like that get it, want it capacity combo, because we have seen a ton in the past people who love to be in our culture and community but don't necessarily want to do or love the actual job requirements of the needs. And that's super okay. But the problem becomes, again, where this predictive index might make sense, and this is where the self-concept might come into play, is it's like as you do the self-concept, you'll see somebody sitting where they think they need to be very off their behavioral drives, and that typically means that they're acting in some regard or they're stretching. So either, like he said, he puts it, he's like, wherever your drive sits, again, you try to picture a bar moving left or right, and that's a bell curve. But if your bar's sitting, call it right in the middle, and they call it, there's a certain amount of space to the left or right of that bar, you can stretch in that way indefinitely. It's all good. But if you go too far one way or the other, it goes like hey, I like this job because it's stretching me and it's teaching me a lot, to like, fuck, this job is really tiring. Or on the other side of it, I'm bored as fuck at this job. These guys are stupid. That's like an extreme version of it, but like that's where it can go.
That had more to do with the cognitive assessment, right?
Well, both cognitive and like your drives. So like if you're super, super social like me and your job requires you to be at a desk all day not talking, like I said, I could do that job, but that'll still come out in some way.
You wouldn't be bored, you'd be frustrated.
But right? How that frustration comes out might be like, dude, we could totally be doing all this work, and we don't have to sit at these desks and be quiet. Like I could be doing that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how it could come out.
There's a tension there.
Yeah,
but that to me is different than the board thing, where it's like there's another test that's tacked onto this, where you're basically assessing a cognitive load, and it's like I love the, I'm like playing games here because we're doing this as a company. Yeah. So I'm supporting it, but I also think there are some aspects of it that are just admittedly hilarious. Like Barry's like jumping through hoops to make sure everyone knows that it's not an IQ test. It's an IQ test.
It's a version of it. Yeah.
It's absolutely an IQ test.
Yeah.
You're basically measuring mental horsepower.
Yeah.
And the way it works is every particular job has a certain mental capacity that goes with it. Like you have to be able to handle this cognitive load to do this job well.
Yeah.
And how it works on either side of the coin. If your cognitive capacity is way lower than the job requires, you're just going to be frustrated to no end. Like no matter how hard you try, even if your innate drives are aligned, you just don't have the horsepower that it takes to get this thing done. And that's a recipe for frustration. And on the other end, if your cognitive capacity is way higher than the job requires, you're going to be bored as fuck because it's not challenging enough for you. And you're going to check out, and then you're going to start doing nefarious things, and then it's going to be a whole problem. So like the idea is to match as closely as possible. You know, there's obviously there's wiggle room. Not a silver bullet. There's a wiggle room. Like match the capacity of the person to the load of the job. And it's interesting. He's like, we don't always need to take the cog. And I would suggest, if you don't need to take the cog, just don't take the cog, because people will take the cog and they're just really disappointed of where they sit.
I think it's probably really true because you can learn a lot of things and get good at stuff without maybe naturally being inclined to be the best at it to start.
Yeah, and I think
that's okay.
Well, and also everybody thinks they're smarter than they are.
Always.
I said it in the room. It's just like if you ask 10 people if they're an above average driver, all of them are going to say, "Yeah, I'm an above average driver."
Well, like,
but the numbers actually say most of you are probably average because that's what average is. That's what most of us are. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just is. There's nothing wrong with like
everybody wants to be great.
Right. It's like that's
there's just
like,
a drive.
Regardless of level of, whatever you want to call it, intelligence, like everybody can do awesome things that are meaningful. It's not about like, oh, I have this high cognitive capacity, so I'm better than you. Like fuck, who cares? Like, I'm not the smartest person in the world, not even close. Like, forget about it. But he did say that it's something that really easily gets people's feelings hurt. So unless you absolutely need to go down that road, just leave it alone.
If you're on the job, don't look at it.
Yeah, because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yep, and you might be like, I suck now. I'm a stupid person. Whatever that means. I don't even deserve to be here.
Guess I'll go home.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort. Anyway, that's gosh.
It's good times.
And it really was. It was really fun to get everybody together and, team building and seeing everybody in the same room and working on something together, even though it's, that's it, period. Kind of working on something together in both discussion and just connection feels nice.
You got 30 seconds, 2 minutes. What did you feel about the exercise, the puzzle thing?
I don't like puzzles.
Mark hates puzzles, dude.
Yeah, I'm not a big puzzler person. I'm also not a big fan of like I want to know what all the resources are in accomplishing something. So when you get like a set of instructions that has things that then you're not given to complete the thing, there's a trickery to that. But I also understand the intention of like, they're trying to create that space where it could create conflict or that barrier in doing it. So as an exercise, I believe in it, even if it was frustrating for me personally. But I also stand by, I don't like toiling. I don't like puzzles. I don't like just trying to like I was just on a weekend away with some friends and they had a puzzle out on the table and I did not touch one piece of that puzzle. I'm just like not going near it. But I understand the like intention of like observing how people interact with something that isn't like logically making sense. I think there's like big value in like seeing how people show up.
Well, I also think there's big value in looking at like leadership in company when you think of that same concept, because that same concept would also ring true to, okay, this is how everybody is, operating in how this is working. They don't have all the information. It's a kind of complex situation. They know they're supposed to make something successful, but they don't have X, Y, and Z. And so like we could think about that as owners and leaders in our company of like, where are places where that might be a true feeling for whoever. And that's something that I also took away from it as well, is it's like, okay, this is how the team operates. But if I'm a good owner, I'm also saying, how does it feel to want to do a good job and have kind of shit information and or resources to do that good job? And how are people, reacting? Sure, to your point. What's it like? But also that's the other side of it. It's like taking ownership and leadership of this company as an owner. That's one way I look at that too. Anyway, Eddie liked it, dude. Eddie had a great time.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't want to hear the people who had a good time.
I don't think Eddie had a great time. I mean, I'll tell you what, he wasn't doing much, that's for sure.
Eddie was thinking, dude. He was bopping around, thinking it out.
Yeah. Oh man, I was just glad I wasn't in it, man. Glad I wasn't in it.
I wanted to be in it. I like being in that shit. I do like puzzles. I was like, I'll toil on a puzzle.
Oh, I hate puzzles.
Until I figure it out.
Puzzles. I hate board games. My mindset is exactly that of Leah, where she's just like, nope, not interested. I'm good. Hard pass. Don't need it. It's like
this is not my thing, dude.
This is not my thing.
Hey, everybody's got different things, dude.
Want to play board games? No.
I
literally don't
code,
put together a puzzle.
Yeah. Do you code, bro? I don't
code.
I don't code.
I don't even know what a code is. What, ones and zeros?
Zeros and ones, dude.
Weiser probably knows how to code a little bit.
You know how to code?
He's lying right now. I can tell.
Hey everyone, that's the podcast for the week. Thanks so much for listening. If you heard something that inspired you, or if you heard something that gave you more questions than answers, send us an email to podcast@catandcloud.com. And if you're looking to know more about us, then head to our website at catandcloud.com, where you can find everything we have to offer. A great place to start would be The Answer, our house coffee that's right for any occasion. Or the Best Friends Blend, a coffee that tastes just as good as the good it does by donating $1 per pound back to our partnering producers. Also, if you're feeling extra friendly, connect with us in the usual places, like YouTube, Instagram, pretty much everywhere that's hip. All right, that's it. Thanks for being awesome, everyone, and we'll be back next week.